Today we are going to do the last lesson in this unit, half-angle formulas. And again, I give you the formulas, you just need to know how to use them. What's nice about the half-angle formulas is that they all use cosine in the actual formula. It is a little more difficult with the radical though, so we will have to deal with that. So it says for each value of theta, use the half-angle formulas to find the following. And I give you theta equals 300 degrees. So, anywhere I see a theta in the problem, I'm going to, or an A, in the formulas, I'm going to replace it with a 300. So it's going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cos 300 over 2. Cos 300 is equal to 1/2. So it's going to be 1 minus 1/2 over 2. I recommend doing the numerator and denominator separately. 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. Over 2 is 1/4. The square root of 1/4 is 1/2. Notice I have that plus and minus throughout. I do need to decide whether it's the plus or the minus. And this is what I do to decide. I am given 300 degrees. I don't care about 300 degrees, I care about half of the angle. Half of 300 is 150. 150 is in quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, sine is positive, so sine of 1/2 theta is positive 1/2. Cosine 1/2 of 300, it's going to be 1 plus cos 300 over 2. So it's going to be 1 plus 1/2 over 2, which is going to end up being radical 3/4. The square root of 3 stays, the square root of 4 is a 2. Now since I'm in the second quadrant, I know cosine is negative, so it's negative radical 3 over 2. And finally for tangent, it's plus or minus 1 minus cos A over 1 plus cos A. So 1 minus cos 300 over 1 plus cos 300. So it's 1 minus 1/2 over 1 plus 1/2. 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. 1 plus 1/2 is 3/2. 1/2 divided by 3/2 is 1/3. So that's going to be plus or minus 1 over radical 3. Rationalize by multiplying by radical 3. We get plus or minus radical 3 over 3. Since I am in quadrant 2, I know it's negative radical 3 over 3. I am going to leave the radian one for you guys to try. Please make sure your calculator's in radians when you do it. It says for each value of cos A, find sine, cos, and tan of 1/2 A. And I give you cos of A is 3/4. Well, what's nice about this is that all of our formulas use cos of A, so we can jump right into the formula. So sine 1/2 A, that's equal to plus or minus 1 minus cos A over 2. Cos of A is 3/4. So in this cos of A spot, I'm just going to replace it with 3/4. So it's going to be 1 minus 3/4 over 2. 1 minus 3/4 divided by 2 is 1/8. So the square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 8 is 2 radical 2. We will rationalize. So plus or minus radical 2 over 4, 2 times 2. Now to decide if it's plus or minus in this case, notice it tells you that A is between 0 and 90. We don't care about A, we want 1/2 A. I'm just going to go down here. So if A is between 0 and 90, A in between. Take half of the range. Half of 0 is 0, half of 90 is 45. Well, what quadrant is 0 to 45 degrees? Should be saying quadrant 1. In quadrant 1, everything is positive, so the final answer is just radical 2 over 4. Same idea for cos 1 half a. Plus or minus 1 plus cos a over 2. So it's going to be 1 plus 3/4 over 2, which is the square root of 7/8, plus or minus. Square root of 7/8 is the square root of 7 over 2 radical 2. We will rationalize. So radical plus or minus radical 14 over 4. Since it is in quadrant 1, we know it's just positive radical 14 over 4. And finally for tangent. For tangent, let me move this over a little bit. We will have plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cos a over 1 plus cos a. So it's going to be plus or minus the square root of 1/7, which is plus or minus 1 over radical 7, which rationalizes to radical 7 over 7, which, since we are in quadrant 1, is positive radical 7 over 7. And that's it there. And I am going to ask you guys to do the second problem, which is the same idea except 7/9 instead.